tack me and I tack you, and anyway, a Takamine G series little acoustic guitar. Nice little guitar, but it's got a few problems. You might get a hint at the problem if you look at the strings, that there's too much. I've loosened the strings. There's too much. The strings are all over to the bottom of the guitar. You can see that E string's closer to the edge of the fretboard than the main bass E string. But you can see the reason for that is there. Something has fallen on this and cracked it. And it also has cracked it here. The pressure seems to have hit somewhere there and caused the whole thing to crack. So I'm only beginning the process of looking at it. I don't know what I'm going to find in these cracks. This is a little bit worrying, but that means it's come away from the edging underneath. But other than that, there's another problem that I see is the bridge is extremely low, almost too, well actually it is too low, and you could get some intonation problems because you can't get a good bend, if you know what I mean. The string's almost flat there. So we'll look at that too. And the other thing we'll look at the end is this wear markings at the side. I would say there were markings. The only problem is you see that little bit that's coming over the edge there, coming over the edge. I just hope that it's not worn so much that the wood is moving that way. And now I'm going to investigate further because I'm not sure what else I might find once I take the strings off. But there we go. Yes, I've taken the strings off and I found another problem. The bridge was far too low, but when I take the bridge off, I find that it's got obviously a piezo pickup underneath it, or it may not be a piezo, but it's a pickup of some sort. But it's sitting very high and it's got a plastic covering on it. And when it's like that with a plastic covering on it, it's keeping the strings from hitting the bridge. The vibrations are not going straight into the wood to echo through the guitar. They're going through the pickup, and you dull the sound, you quieten the whole sound of the acoustic guitar. Perfectly fine if you have if you only play it through electric, you can get that, but it sort of kills the sound. That is also the weirdest. That there is also the weirdest bridge, because it pays no attention to acoustics by doing what it's doing. We'll have to investigate that. Do we see something else in there? Do we see something else? What's that? Oh no, a shim as well. No wonder this guitar sounded dead. If I can get that fixed, we'll have to talk to the owner about what he wants to do about this. But we'll have to talk to him about what he wants to do about this, but it's far too reduced the bridge. I'm going to have to find out what kind of bridge that is, because I presume it's built for the electric pickup, so that the sense of the tone comes down through that. But that's not a very good bridge for an acoustic guitar. Killed the bridge. And that there, piece of paper, no, it's a piece of plastic. Anyway, maybe it's nothing to do with me. I'll put it back the way it was, and if I can get it fixed, that'll be fine. Look inside at the damage. Yeah, I can see it's come away there. There's a bit of damage there too. I don't know what else. See end of it. problems all over the place with this, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of them. But if I put my straight edge on it, look, it's like a rocking horse. There's far too much bow, far too much bow in the middle. I hope the truss rod will take that out of it. And that probably would explain why the bridge is so low, because they tried to compensate for that neck by reducing the bridge down. Well, I would like to think so. But look at the gap there whenever I got the top straight. And if I make the bottom flush, look at the gap at the top. So there's far too much bow in the middle. Okay. It needs the frets. Got some big grooves in them, we can work on them. Fretboard's quite dirty. But that's just another little job to do. That's the biggest job is getting it playable, because it was unplayable before. So, my diagnostic thoughts on this are as follows. The crack doesn't mean a lot, believe it or not. It's not really affecting the problem that the guitar has. The crack makes it look like the neck has been pushed down, but from at that point it's level, and at that point it's down about 3 mil. That's because the crack has pushed forward. Whatever hit it pushed forward and jammed it and forced it onto there. Beneath that crack is pretty solid. It's got the edging, which is solid, and there's a piece of wood going there and there. Unfortunately, that's just the same time as a crack, and the piece of wood beneath it, pieces of wood beneath it are pretty solid. So that's not really causing the problems with the guitar. Okay, what the problems are with the guitar, I first started to get suspicious when I noticed that when I put a straight edge on it, it rocked back and forth very much so. And then when I put a full straight edge on it after I was jumping ahead of myself, I managed to get the bow out of this neck. The bow was really bad because the truss rod, which is at this end, was tightened up so tight that the neck had gone like that, and it's the worst case I've seen of a neck being that bad. So when I loosened the truss rod, it actually could be a two-way truss rod, and it straightened it out, and it's now at the perfect level, right? So when I put the level on the neck, when I put a straight edge on the neck, the straight edge, let me just see if I can show you. It hits about 1/4 of an inch beneath the, maybe more, let me just zoom in there. It hits a good 1/4 of an inch beneath the level of the fret. Well, that is a classic sign of it needing a head reset. Okay, I checked the bridge and I checked this body, and there's no sinking of the body. It's good strong at the moment, good sinking. That scratch, that is pretty superficial. So these two things didn't help matters, but they're not the problem the guitar really has. So what the guitar if it needs to get fixed, there's two solutions. One, a neck reset, and it's a Takamine, which means that this part has got the truss rod in it, but the truss rod doesn't. In an ordinary guitar, the truss rod starts there and ends about there, right? And that means you can take the neck off and slip it up. Slip the neck off after you've taken the fretboard. But here, the truss rod starts there and is built into the neck and goes the whole way up, like that there, the whole way up. So with the truss rod being inside the guitar, that means taking the neck off is a major job, because there's a big round, let me just see if I can come out a bit here, no, go out a bit. When the neck goes in there, there's a big round shaped piece of wood made of the same material as the neck, and that round shaped piece of wood is glued to the back of that, right up tight to that, and this is glued right up tight to that. So I'd have to heat that to take that off, but to take off the inside, I would imagine I'd have to drill holes through this to get steam inside, to get that big block of wood taken off with a truss rod. There is an easier way to do a neck reset, which is not always the perfect way, and is to use a Japanese saw to cut that the whole way up there, and then bring the neck down a bit and leave the... But with the truss rod there, you can't do that, because the truss rod metal is in there. So we can't do the Japanese saw method. And to take the head off, the neck off, it would be something else again. Let me just feel again. Yeah, it's all part of the neck. This piece of wood going all down there, and that would be a very destructive thing to the guitar too. So the only solution that I can think of are sort of two Heath Robinson things. I looked at bringing the bridge down, but no, I can't bring the bridge down any further. There's a cut in it that's nearly touching the body already. So the only solution I can think of that would be in any way to make this guitar playable again, but let me just show you why it's not playable. I think that actually because it had the big bow in the neck was because it had these problems. But if I put that on, pretending that that was the strings, and putting it where the bridge should be, you can see where the strings, that's about right with the strings. Now you can see that's about the height the strings would be at this end, which is terrible. You get a bust through there. So I've just finished the guitar, well, I'm just about to finish it, where I took off the fretboard, the whole way along the fretboard, and I put a shim starting at 0, opening up to the angle that would allow the bridge and the action to be playable. It does mean extending the width of the neck with the shim in it by about where it's playable. I would say the 12th fret, it would be about a 16th of an inch thicker, the neck, but 0 at the front and going up to about a 16th of an inch thicker. I haven't measured this in detail yet. So that I can't think of anything else. I don't want to take the neck off because I don't think it would do the job, because I think I'd end up destroying the guitar taking the neck off. Even taking the back off first wouldn't help. So what I would suggest to the gentleman who owns this is that I take off the fretboard and do the shim the whole length of the neck. Yeah, I think that's about all I can suggest. It's interesting that that's not the thing that's causing the problem. I actually think this guitar has had this neck down for quite some time, because if you look, which is pretty standard, the thickness of that Takamine bridge with the piezo or the pickup and beneath it was very low. Even with the piezo beneath it, this bridge was not even enough, which as I pointed out earlier. Okay, I'm just about halfway through taking the neck off this. Sorry, taking the fretboard off this. I just thought I'd let you see a quick show. And when I get near the end, I'll turn the video on to let you see the final removal. Right, you're a little bit distant, but I think I should be able to do the last one here, so I'll just turn this off, set it on the side because I had a pad, and I think this will just slide off now, I think, because it's good and warm. And you just see what's underneath it. Yes, it's going to come off now. There we go. Right, okay. So there's not too much damage, can you see? I don't think there's any damage, to be quite honest. Let me just take that back out again. I don't think there's any damage. Right, and we can see the truss rod and the neck. The truss rod and the neck and a spline of wood. And that spline of wood It's nothing to do with me. I'm glad to say they must have put that in to fill the gaps so it wouldn't buzz. And the truss rod is here. I'll give that a good clean. It's a one-way truss rod. Now, what do I see here? I see a neck. Let's bring you over to see what I can see. I see a neck going down there. Nope, I still I'm of the opinion that it'll be better to, can I come out a bit? No, come in a bit. It looks like it's all epoxy filled in there. Let me just see. Yeah, they've filled epoxy. It's all right, but it's not what you call quality carpentry. No, I think now that I've got it off and seeing it, I'm still going to stick with putting the shim on. A little bit of work there. This will give me a chance to work on these bits here that need to be fixed. Not what I would call terribly impressed with that workmanship, but there we go. This is the Takamine fretboard, and I'm putting a sliver on it rather than resetting the neck. I've used a micrometer to get it exactly the way I want it, going up and then slightly flat there, which will be pushed down. I've tried it on the guitar and it seems to be perfect fit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slather is an iron word, the whole neck with a thin super glue that'll sink into it, give it a little bit more firmness. This is softwood, but it's not that softwood, but this will just give it that little bit more bite. So I have the neck ready to put on, but I want to do some repairs to the crack here and the damage here. And what I need to do, I've cleaned out the crack, right? I just need to lift that, but I also need to push this in as tight as I can to try to get the circle back to where it is. Now, no matter how hard I push with my hands, I don't get that circle back to normal. I've tried a clamp, squishing that way, but it doesn't get the circle back to normal. But the problem with that is that I need to do both. I need to keep it level and flat and clamp that way. But this is bulging a little bit. This here, you can see there's some damage there because the damage must have gone that way, fallen that way, and pushed that out and back down and in again. So I'm now toying with the idea of making a slice in the beading, making a slice the whole way through to give this enough room to move again. The underneath is okay. There's no damage to the kerfing or the beading around it, but there happens to be a slice of wood here for support and a slice of wood there for support. And when I do that up and down, you can tell the difference between the two. So what I'm going to have to do is put, maybe at a later date, a bit of wood underneath that to keep that level, maybe even stronger. But my biggest issue at the moment is getting the circle. Will the circle be? Yeah, by the way. Right, so I want to try to find a way, and I think that what I'm doing is I'm pushing against the edge of that. So I think I'm going to have to cut away there to give myself some more room to clean that out and maybe replace it. So cut that little bit from there to there, there to there, get this lined up again, which is going to be awkward because I can't clamp there and there at the same time. I don't have small clamps, so I'll have to think of something clever, love. So do I cut away that edging? Because that's got a bulge in it. I don't know whether you can see that or not. Let me just put something below it to see if you can see it. Yeah, I don't know, can you see that? That should be rounded there, but it's actually got a bulge that way. So there's junk in there that needs to come out. But that's 1, 2, 3 white and 1, 2, 3 black with a thick black outer. Yeah, put some more thought into that. Okay, that's where I am at. With this, it's dug into there. There's 2 ways, go away. There's 2 ways to do this. There's 3, or actually there's about 10 ways to do this. But I think that what I might do is either fill it or just fill it with wood filler and then try to stain it to that color, or just fill it with wood glue to strengthen it. I gotta feel it's sitting higher than the edging, so I think it needs the strength. So I'm just going to fill that with wood glue. It's going to look exactly the same, but it's going to be stronger. Okay, the Takamine is coming close to the end. It's been a bit of a marathon. What I'm doing is I put in a bone, a pure bone nut on it, and I am now shaping it and filing it. I'm not going to take you through the whole thing because this is boring as hell. But what I like to do is I use a little diamond file. I like to make a wider gap there, and then I'll use a fret file to make the narrow. So you'll see on the E string there, it's wide at that end and narrow there. That means that the string gets room to vibrate there without bashing against the sides. And it's also at an angle. I've also angled it so that the tuning point or the tone point for the guitar will be about there on the guitar. I have to do a compensated nut later on, but this guitar is not in need of a compensated nut. But now the cat's climbed up on my shoulder, so I just switch off and I'll come back to you when I've done the nut. Well, that is done. It's a shame to mess up my pretty work with graphite, but graphite make pencil. It's actually pencil lead. And you could polish that out, I suppose, but I like it to be there. They're all sitting. I've left them a little bit high because I've been messing with the neck. So what I'd really like is to get this guitar back in about 3 months' time so I can give it a sort of final going over, because a lot of things are going to settle. There was a lot of work I did on this, and so I'd like to get it back in 3 months' time. So, goodbye Takamine G series. This has been on my bench for a long time. Thank you, Alan. Alan always brings me the best, the most fun. What we had was, it was needing a neck reset. But with the Takamine, the truss rod goes through the body, blah, blah, blah. I've explained that earlier. So what I've had to do is put a sliver on the neck, and if you've looked very closely there, you'll see a sliver, very tiny and extending to the end like that. So it's raised the fretboard. It also increased the thickness of the neck by that small amount as well. In raising the fretboard, needed a higher bridge saddle. Now the bridge saddle that came with it, this had me fooled for a long time. Why was it so shallow? Why was it not right? It was a perfect size and everything, but it was inside the wood. And then I did some research and I found out that that's only half of the saddle. There's another metal bit that comes down here that contains the pickup. Now, obviously, this pickup's been changed at some time, and they're using a wire pickup, which you can just see there. Can you just see there? No, maybe you just can't see it because I can't get it to tune. All right, maybe you'll see it there. That wire pickup goes underneath the bridge. So this previously, at some incarnation of his life, had a metal a metal encasing. You can just see the edges of where the metal would come down there and go across, and so it would be a lot higher, and that metal encasing would include the pickup. So it's been changed. But once I discovered that, I put on another pickup which fits the slot better, but it's not quite long enough. So someday the owner may want to change that. The other thing is that the owner came to me with 2 blanks, so I replaced them with 2. That's the only 2 I had with eyes. New strings on it as well. Had to take off the pickup guard. This was cracked, as you know. Now you'll see it's a bit lumpy. I've actually had to layer the glue on top. Yeah, because there's a solid thick wood of there, and it was at different levels. So it looks a little bit worse. Well, it's not so bad. On camera it does look a little bit worse, but you'll see that the neck has been raised. The one problem I couldn't get was it color it there, but I couldn't get it colored there. No matter what I did, I couldn't get this to color properly. But it's all playing well. It was a wall hanger when I first got it. I had to create a new nut, but also in creating a new nut I had to raise the nut by a bit, so I had to put a piece of hardwood underneath the nut and raise the nut, and I have that as a solid bone nut. The intonation for the nut is at the start, and then it goes drifting down, and then you can see, I've explained this earlier, it's wider there than it is there. So that's, and the dirt in it's graphite to make it slip. What else did I have to do? Yes, there was a crack there, which was, so I managed to get the crack level. You can still see it, of course, but it's solid and filled. Here was a damaged part which was weak. It still looks damaged, but it's a repair. But that's actually got a solid gloss cap over the top of it now, and I filled it in with super glue to make the wood stronger. It had been bashed in, people leaning on it. So what else did I do? What else did I have to do besides having to do the neck? Well, it sounds like that's all I had to do, but this was a marathon job. And I'll play it now and let you hear it. It sounds a little bit different than when it came in. It sounds a little bit richer, and I think that might be because I put a strip of hardwood right up the neck, give it more depth right up the neck. All right, okay, so I'll play it now for you. It's a nice sounding guitar. This can be lowered at some stage in the future. I want the neck to settle in. This can all be given better action some stage in the future. But at the moment, I think I'd like the owner to play it for maybe 6 months and then bring it back to me, and then I'll lower the action there and lower the action there. As it is, it's just a little, oh, it's not bad. It's very close to where I'd like it, you know. Very nice. Okay, goodbye, guitar.